learning 1,000 door slams like revolutionized the way that he thought. How did that door knocking develop that resiliency inside of you?
It allowed me to adapt and accept rejection and absorb it in a way that's not personal.
This is the Full Stack Sales Pro. What up, Full Stack crew? We're super excited. I hope that you have been just enjoying every one of these episodes. I very much have, the last week that we dropped with John, Jess, Jeremy, Taylor, it's just been, man, so much knowledge, so much info. So we're excited that you're here. We're excited that you're listening. Again, always share, always do all the good things, and just make sure that if you're getting something out of it, you're able to pass it on. Without further ado, we're going to hop into today's guest, Jonathan Gaspard. I love this man, honestly, because he actually is the godfather to my son. So we're super close, and I know a ton of things about him, but I'm very excited about you guys learning about his experience in sales, because it's something that he's pretty much been doing his whole entire life. He's built quite the empire down there in Texas, and I'm just very excited, like I always say, for you guys to just get to know him a little bit more. So, Jonathan, what is up? How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited about doing the podcast with you. I was excited.
Heck yeah, dude. So. Well, do this because, again, I know a ton about you. I know all the things that you've gone through, all the good, the bad, the ugly, and how you're still just standing here rocking. Obviously, you got the beautiful logo on the hat and on the shirt, which I love. Give us a backstory. Break us in. You can go 30,000 foot view and then break it all the way down. But how did you even get into sales or, and then which led you to where you're at today?
Well, I was born, and I feel like sales is part of everyday life. I think you guys have covered that. So go back. Obviously, I'm in roofing. I've had a roofing company now in Dallas-Fort Worth for 18 years. Before that, though, I'm fifth generation roofing. I've done it my entire life. And when I was 18, I moved to Dallas and went to Bible school here in Dallas. And then right after graduating, I was looking for a job, and I was trying to get a job with a roofing company doing the labor side of it here in Dallas. And the owner of the company was like, "No, I think you need to do sales." And I was like, "I don't want to do sales. Roofing is what I know. It's what I've done my whole life." And he's like, no, just try sales. Just try sales for a little bit. I was like, okay. So I tried sales, and it clicked with my personality, and I liked it. I liked the challenge of it. I like being able to kill and eat what I hunt. I like the personal growth challenges that come every day with sales, because you can't just sit back and think something's going to happen. You have to get out there and make it happen every single day. And my personality is the type that I don't want to be told what I can do or can't do. I want to get out there and figure out what I can and can't do on my own terms. And so, sales is a natural fit for me. So I did that for a number of years and became the number one sales guy in that company after probably a year and a half. And then I decided to go be a youth pastor for a couple of years and tried ministry.
Which is sales in general.
And then came back to
you're just selling people on a belief in a system, influencing them.
True. And then so I decided to come back to roofing after a number of years of that. And I came in with another company and decided to start my own company, because I was like, you know what? I've been doing this my whole life. I want to be able to control the quality of the installs. I want to be able to control kind of the details of what happens in the field. And at the same time, I want to try my hand at actually running my own company. So about 18 years ago, we started a company, and here we are today. That's a 10,000.
Nice. And tell us about the current company. What are the type of numbers, the volume that you guys are doing? Do you have a sales team? All of those things.
Mm-hmm. So right now we're running. Last year we ended our biggest year. I would say we were a slow burn, because we stayed kind of small for the first 2/3 of the company, for 2/3 of the life of the company. And then something clicked, and I was like, you know what, we're just going to bust this out. And so we grew from about a $2 or $3 million company 3.5, 4 years ago to $15.5 million ending last year. And then this year's goal is 21 million. And then we're looking to, the path that I put in front of the team right now is to try to get to 100 million in 5 years, which is a 32% year after year growth. Right now, our sales team is fairly small, but the size of the projects that we do really helps facilitate those kinds of numbers. Right now, I think we have about 5 guys in sales total. And the vast majority of the work we've been doing right now has been Defense Department, military, government work for the last 2 years. And that's gotten to be the vast majority of our receipts, our income. But I've tasked the team starting about 2.5 months ago to reestablish our local footprint in commercial. We still do a little bit of residential as it falls in our lap, but we really focus on commercial. And local, I mean, Central Texas up to Tulsa, from Louisiana over to, Amarillo. That to us is local. So task them to reestablish our local footprint. Just a couple of miles. To reestablish our local footprint, because we have gotten so invested and involved in the Defense Department side of it, and that comes with a lot of pros and cons, just like the private sector comes with pros and cons. And I told the team, I was like, listen, this is a race we're going to run on 2 legs. It's going to be the government and it's going to be the private sector. Those are the 2 legs we need to run, and they need to be at the same length. And so we need to reestablish ourselves locally in the same, without pulling out of the government sector. We just need to balance that team. So that's where we're at right now. So right now we have about $23 million worth of contracts going into 2024 as of right now. So we're already kind of chipping away at the next 2 years.
Yeah. And those are extremely long sales cycles. I mean, some people are used to like
very long sales cycles.
I know sometimes a lot of our listeners are used to like, 2-week sales cycles, or, sometimes 2-day sales cycles. For that type of growth to do 30%, 32% year on year and average, but it be a 2-year long cycle. It's like, oh my gosh. But let's dive back into company 1, your first venture into sales before you like become, a roofing conglomerate. What was that company, by the way?
Nations Roofing.
It was a roofing company
in Dallas,
that
Texas.
You also learned sales in.
Yeah. So I went into the company already knowing roofing, which is backwards to the way that I found. I didn't know it on that day at that time, but through my time in roofing, now I realize most people, I would roughly say 98, 99% of people get into roofing sales. It's the opposite. They get in because they're in sales, and then they have to learn roofing. I came into it already knowing roofing and having to figure out what's the sales technique? How do you overcome an objection? When somebody says no, is that personal? Is that a final no? It's not always a final no. It's never personal.
How do you know?
A lot of that stuff.
Roofing. When you say I already knew roofing, let us understand that real quick.
So the installation tactics. So what the crews do, they go up there, they tear off how to do the install, how to do the valleys correctly, how to tie in over a ridge.
You actually got on the roof.
I'm a nerd when it comes to roofing, so I could go into
you actually got on the roof. Okay, yeah. So you were actually doing the labor. Freaking getting pounded by the sun.
Yes.
Climbing all over the freaking rafters and everything, and then you got into sales.
Yeah, the entire first half of my life, like I said, I'm 5th generation. I grew up my entire first half of my life actually physically doing the work with my grandfather and my dad on the roof. So, on my 10th birthday, my dad, I would go to work with my dad before, and I hope no child labor law people are listening right now, but I go to work with my dad in the summer, and I kept wanting him to teach me how to nail on a shingle, actually install the shingles, because up to that point, he would let me tear off, he would let me clean up, he would let me do all these things, but he wouldn't teach me how to nail on, because his dad didn't teach him until he was 10. So at 10, I remember on my birthday, some people think this is weird. I actually think it's beautiful, because I'm like, I will say this, there's no greater gift a father can give a son than having a trade to fall back on. And I'm beyond grateful that my dad took the time to sow into me something that is now a blessing to my family. And so at 10 years old, he took me to go get my first hammer and nail apron at West Hardware Material in Marietta, Georgia, or Smyrna, Georgia. I remember it. And he took me to the job that day, and he taught me how to hand nail shingles. And I remember being so excited that my dad was finally teaching me how to nail on shingles. And from there on, I mean, I tell you what, the life I lived as a high schooler was much different. Partially because it was a hybrid between homeschooling and private schooling. So it was a little bit different there. But also after school every day, I would go to work with my dad. When I was homeschooled, I'd work really hard to try to finish my work by lunchtime. So when my dad would come home from lunch, I could go to work with him. And what that allowed me to do was have my own budget and learn. It taught me how to handle money, taught me how to budget. If I wanted something, I needed to save up for it. I remember the very first time my parents taught me that was, my parents were never very well to do. My dad was obviously very blue collar, roofing on the roof his entire life till retirement. I wanted a $50 Omega Supreme. And back when I was a kid, $50 was a lot of money. And remember a Toys R Us at $50, and my parents were like, "We're not buying you a $50 toy. It's not going to happen." And Omega Supreme was a Transformer. I don't know if you remember that, but I remember. But my dad was like, "If you save up your money, you can do it." So I don't remember if I was 9 or 10 years old, but it was right around that age. I was like, you know what? That's what I want to do. And so I worked my tail off with my dad to save $50. And then you know what the greatest feeling in the world was? Walking into Toys R Us as a kid with my money going, I want that. And then walking out with it. Not because my parents gave it to me, but because I worked for it. You know what? I cherished that thing. And that carried on all the way through my life now. I mean, I paid cash for my first car. I got to go pick out the one I wanted. I worked for it. I knew what the budget was, picked it out, paid cash for it. And that car lasted me all the way through college, you know, and that kind of work ethic it's not just a trade that I'm grateful for my dad. It's a work ethic. It's waking me up at 5:30 in the morning as a teenager going, get in the truck, we're going to work. And then working in a hot sun till 5 or 6 o'clock at night and then getting off.
But how did that, I am curious, how did that translate into that first sales job? Because I mean, what you're talking about is legendary type of stuff. You know what I mean? How did it translate?
So it translated in the fact that I wasn't scared to get out on my own. Because a lot of people need a boss to tell them, you be here at 8 o'clock and you're here till 5 and you punch that clock. And if there's not somebody standing over you, making sure you're punching that clock at 8, it's real hard to get out of bed at 8 o'clock on your own accord, on your own volition, and make something happen. So having that mentality put into me and drilled into me as a young age of like, this is what you need to do. Get up every day, make it happen. And you're not always going to have somebody there to make it, to make you do that. You have a choice, right? For example, when I was in high school, my dad didn't make me go to work after lunch, and I wanted to go to work. So it was this inner thing of like, I want something, I need to go do it, not I want something, give it to me. And so as a 19-year-old freshly graduated from college, I knew I'm going to go work. So I was going to go wake up at 5 a.m. and get on a hot roof every single day in Dallas, Texas. Well, the same work ethic applies to sales, because guess what? You have to wake up every day and be like, I'm going to get out in the field. And whether it's on a call or a door knock, you got to get, quote unquote, out of the truck, right? You got to make that decision to pick up that phone, open that door, go up to that house, knock on that door, walk up to that business, pull that door, have that conversation. And there's got to be something inside of you that motivates you to do that next call. Like, after 10 no's, what's going to keep you from going and sulking in front of your TV or at a bar because like, oh, I feel so rejected? It's going to be that inner thing of like, you know what? I got 10 no's. That means by the law of averages, the next one should be a yes. It's that turning that box and having that work ethic of, I'm going to do what it takes to get the job done. Because I remember one thing when I was younger, the majority of my years roofing was in New Orleans,
Yeah.
South Louisiana, very humid, very hot. And I would be working with my grandfather and my dad, like I said. And I remember my cousin and I would take heat breaks, water breaks down in the shade against the wall. And there was more than one time we would hear my grandfather from up on the roof going, "I'm not paying you guys to take breaks. Get back up here." And it would be in a good way, a shaming that this 60-year-old grandfather is still up on a roof, like outworking his teenage uh, nephew and grandson, you know. And we're like, we got to get our butts in gear. We got to get back up there, or else this old man's going to make us very embarrassed. And that is a good thing, because that is still an image I have in my head of my grandfather was never going to allow somebody else to outwork him. And I was like, you know what? I'm never going to allow somebody else to outwork me. I'm going to be the one that's going to outwork him.
Okay, so then when you get into sales, and obviously there is a learning curve, because no matter how much knowledge you have, I tell people all the time, I'm like, you could have all the tactics in the world, but if you don't understand what you're actually trying to do it, and you don't understand the order and the sequence of how they work, they're pointless. They pack no punch. They have no potency. Do you feel like what was built inside of you, that resilience, helped you? Because I mean, door knocking is like we had a friend on here before, a guest, and he door knocked for ADT. You know, I mean, so security and stuff like that. And he was like, that learning 1,000 door slams like revolutionized the way that he thought about sales. And now he's in commercial real estate and stuff like that. How did that door knocking develop that resiliency inside of you?
It allowed me to adapt and accept rejection and absorb it in a way that's not personal, and keep moving in my life. And that has been something that's been applicable in many aspects of my life. I mean, nobody likes being rejected. I don't care who you are. You can be the greatest sales guy in the world. I mean, Donald Trump, you watch him talk, he acts like he doesn't care. And there's probably an aspect of it, but we're all human. There's something inside all of us that there is something. So it's a matter of how do you handle that? How do you process it? How do you absorb it? So being able to figure out that is separate than who I am, and it's not my identity, that rejection doesn't define who I am, is one thing. That's how it's helped me. Also, it's helped me realize that my philosophy on sales has evolved from when I first started. And I wouldn't say I necessarily had a philosophy. I mean, you can have a philosophy without realizing that you have a philosophy. And dubbing it a philosophy, it's if you have an idea or a framework that you're operating in, that's a philosophy, whether you want to call it that or not. When I first started, it was, how much money can I make? Like, I need to figure out, how to make money, get to this level, next thing. And there still is that aspect. Obviously, you want personal goals. There's nothing wrong with personal goals. So what I'm about to say doesn't trump that. But what I have come to realize is it's not about what I can do or what that person can give me. It's what am I offering that person to help them. When I made it less selfish and more serving, my sales went through the roof, because people smell things. And at the end of the day, if they're sitting in front of somebody and they feel like that person's trying to take something from them, their response is going to be much different than if they're sitting across from somebody who feels like that person's trying to give them something. And yes, sales is transactional. I mean, yes, you give me, I give you. I give you this service, you give me this cash, right? That there is that transaction. But realizing, what is my true heart intent in sitting in front of this person? Is it to get their money in my hand? Because if so, sales are going to be very hard for you. As opposed to if you're sitting down going, what can I offer you? And that's the difference I try to tell my sales team is they don't care about the roof. They don't care about you, to be honest. You need to care about them. And that's the reason you don't sit down. Here's where a lot of sales guys make a mistake. And I've seen a lot of sales scripts, and I'm like, these scripts are terrible. Don't do this. Is Here's what I have. Here's what I can do. Here's what I. Here's our product. Mine. Like, I want to do your roof. I want to do this free inspection. I have this package I want to give you. We have this maintenance program. It's everything me, instead of like, how can I help you? What is your problem? And there's a process that's called the step up sales. And I found this very, very powerful, and it's 4 steps. It's survey the situation, take them to their pain, extend their pain in the future, and provide a solution. And all of that can happen within like 45 seconds. So it's not like a drawn out multi-hour thing. And I'll give you an example of something that, because I was having them role play 2 weeks ago. And one of the new guys, I was like, well, what is something you're having a problem with? And they're like, well, you're the 50th door knocker today. And I was like, and what's your response to that? And he says, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I was like, no, you don't say that. I was like, you know what your first thing is, well, I can be your last one.
Yo.
And because you know what? They just told you their pain. What is their pain? Their pain is not the hail damage on their roof. Their pain is not any water damage on the roof. Their pain is, I'm sick and tired of people knocking on my door. Okay, well, how can you fix that? You fix that with the fact that, here's the deal. You know that they have a damaged roof, and somebody's going to do that roof. But that's not their pain. I can help you with your pain by stopping the door knocks. And here's how I can stop your door knocks. Has nothing to do with the roof. Screw the roof. Stop the door
Everything
knocks.
you're saying right now is like, we have 2 completely different industries, like my sales team and who we help, and your sales team, from an actual solution and the product and service that we sell. They're completely different, but it's so funny how aligned they actually are. Even today, when we were talking to our SDRs, who are calling, warm leads and things like that, I'm just like, guys, if you make it weird, it's weird. If you sound like every other person and you're trying to show somebody why we're better, you've already lost. We are not here to convince anyone. We are here to solve a problem. And this is the number one thing we say. And it just launched. I don't know if you saw, but we launched today our reflex selling. Me and Taylor did a whole brand new training on it. And it's just us talking like this of like how we've sold as much as we've sold, because it really comes down to help the prospect make the best decision for themselves. It always comes down to that. If I am truly here to serve.
And how do you get that?
By asking questions. And the only way that you can get that is you
Bingo.
have to ask questions to expand the gap. You have to, because reality is the prospect thinks that they're here and their solution is here. But that's perceived reality. Reality is actually this. But until you widen that gap, they'll never realize it. And the way you widen that gap is by asking questions. That's the most brilliant thing that somebody could say. It's like, well, you're another door knocker. Great. Do you want me to be the last one? Because we could totally take care of that right now. And then most likely they'll laugh and they're like, whoa, what do you mean? It's like, well, it sounds like you don't want to be bothered anymore and you want to just go back up to your normal life that you love and that you're happy with. So I would love to see you actually achieve that. How about we have a talk about that? And then they'll be like, okay, come on. You know what I mean? It's like, it's always about like, what would you do in a normal conversation?
And here's the deal, is that one question, it just took one question. Would you like me to be the last? I didn't have to say anything else. You know the answers. Don't ask questions that you don't know the answer to. That's key too. And if there's going to be yes or no questions, have a pre-framed, predetermined response to either answer. So it doesn't matter if they say yes or no. You already know where you're going to go with them. Because do you believe? And here's the
go.
No, you're on a great roll. I really appreciate it. Here's the thing too: is do you truly? And this is really key. Do you, as a salesperson, truly believe that the product you're offering them will add value to their life? Because if you say no to that, or I don't know to that, you will have a hard time, if not direct failure in sales. You have to believe that what you're offering them will add value to them, or that you won't be able to sell it. You have to truly believe that. So it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's leadership or roofing or whatever. I truly believe and I'll take it to how we approach our commercial clients. And this is, people can sit there and be like, come up with sales techniques, whatever. To me, a sales technique is pointless if it's not grounded in truth. You have to be honest. And the truth is, when we're approaching commercial clients, they truly don't care about their roof. They don't. 9 times out of 10, every once in a while you might find somebody who's like, oh yeah, you know what? I actually need to get my roof done. You know what they care about? Money. How can I save you money? Well, how can I save you money whenever I'm trying to ask for money? Well, you save money by the fact that we approach it of, I understand you have a capital X fund. You have a CapEx fund, right? Well, if I could get your insurance to pay for your roof and free up your CapEx funds where you can go invest it in another property and have a return on that CapEx fund instead of it sitting in an account somewhere, okay, have 5 minutes of your time. Because you know what? I just spoke to what they care about. They're business people. They care about their CapEx funds. Oh, you can free up my CapEx fund so I can do something else with it. I can go to Cancun with it. I don't care what you want to do with it. Yeah, because you know what? Now I'm adding value to you to do something that betters either your business or your personal life or anything else by allowing me to take this problem off of your plate, and then you can take those funds and do whatever you want with. I just added value to you. So figuring out, like, I truly do believe we as a roofing company add value to our clients. And how do we do that? The only way we do that is figure out what that individual needs, because it's not a cookie cutter copy paste thing. So hopefully I didn't derail you, because I really liked what you were saying.
Phenomenal. I think I was on a call yesterday and we were training some of our clients, and we were doing some role plays, which, by the way, when you said that y'all do role plays, if you have a sales team and you're watching or listening to this podcast right now and you are not doing role plays, that would be the equivalent of an NBA team preparing for a championship and never practicing, never looking at game tape, never looking at what happened on other things, never going back over the fundamentals. You are setting yourself up for failure. Role playing is absolutely amazing. We literally do it every day. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. We will do role plays every day. Now, addressing the belief. If you do not believe that your solution will actually solve somebody's problem, your time at said company is short. It has an expiration date on it, because at some point you can only manufacture belief for so long. You can only manufacture trying to, like, if you got any 2 cents about you and you're a human being, right? Some aspect of your life, it has to have some integrity to it. And if you don't have any integrity, then you're going to, I mean, sure, maybe you can, sell snake oil all you want. But the reality is, when I see sales professionals have careers, like a longevity, like yourself, 18 years with this one business, that has happened because of your belief, the integrity, your conviction. I mean, I could drop you anywhere in the world and you could sell a roof, because at the end of the day, somebody has a problem and I'll have a solution for that. I tell people, sales is simple. It's not easy, but it sure as hell is simple. You know what I mean? So I love that. Looking at your teams, your business can sometimes be volatile if you, at least at the beginning, before you got, the much larger, bigger contracts, much, bigger sales cycles and all of that. When you were just kind of chasing storms, like most guys who get into roofing at the very, very beginning, you scale up your crew, and then you'll scale them down, stuff like that. How do you deal with your sales teams like that? Keeping them motivated, keeping them energized, keeping them committed, and not wanting to just bounce to the next new startup roofing company, in Texas that pop up thousands every season.
Culture. People don't leave jobs, they leave bosses. People don't leave jobs, they leave cultures. That is something that was told to me in the last 6 to 8 months, and I've been digesting that and really thinking through that. And I truly do believe that is true. Is people don't just go somewhere because they got better pay. There's some that may be an ingredient in the pie, but there's always more than one ingredient in anything you make. At the end of the day, I believe people leave people. So creating a culture where people want to stay, And just being bluntly honest, we're actually going through a pretty stormy season right now as a company. Even with our amazing sales and growth, it's some serious growing pains through. We've had in the past year embezzlement. We've had a bad employee do misbid some projects that we're hurting on, and that's actually in a good way. I had somebody tell me last week. I'm in the state guard, and we were doing a search and rescue training, and our one of the majors told us is like, because we couldn't find our victim, it's like, we don't lose here, we win or we learn, but there's no losing. And that's one thing that I'm looking. I was like, I grabbed onto that statement, and I'm applying it to the season I'm in. Is like, we didn't lose, even though we're having to go through some bumpy stuff right now. We're learning because this has given us insight to create some systems and processes that we didn't have before. And this is germane to the question, because through this, I've realized that there were some frustrations in the team that I didn't know needed to be addressed, that this brought to light because of our lack of systems and processes and holding to them. And so it's listening, keeping your finger constantly on the pulse of your team and letting them know that you care is a big deal. Somebody called it rubbing sheep's ears. Is shepherds, when they walk through the field, you might have been.
No, I'm just into this.
Is basically what shepherds do to keep their sheep calm is they'll walk through the herd and just take the tips of their ears and just rub their ears to let them know they're there. And the leader that I was talking to was likening that to walking through your team and just having a touch point with them, just a brief conversation. Hey, how you doing? Are you doing okay? Oh, like, it doesn't have to be anything deep. It can go out to coffee. It could go lunch, but it could also just be walking by their desk or shooting them a text or an email. Hey, are you doing okay? It's taking their ear and just rubbing their ear to let them know that, hey, the leadership's here. We care. Are you okay? You good? And people buy into that. And I will tell you that this season has actually brought our team closer together, not further apart. And I think if we didn't have the culture that we had, we would have had more loss on our team than we did. But instead, people stuck around, and it's been awesome. And
one could say, though, also the flip side to culture is you had people stay because the culture demanded one way, and the people who shouldn't be there and got exposed is because culture exposed them. Because I've been seeing this a lot, like in Delta training, SEAL training, things of that nature, and studying some of these things where it's like, I want a culture in our sales team so, like, the parameters and the guidelines are so crystal clear that they know what success and excellence looks like, to where we call it ringing the bell here, just kind of, not, pulling from the SEAL culture, which is, listen, either you want this and you are locked in with us and we fight till the death on this thing, or you're going to ring that bell to let us know this is not what you want. And that's actually okay. It's okay that you want, it's okay that you want to ring the bell. It's okay that you want to say, guys, I'm actually not going to be able to give you what you need as a team and as a culture. And what I want is now different. And it's like, we welcome people to ring the bell, not as a like, screw you, ring the bell, but more or less like, hey, I actually want you to have the best thing in life that you want, and chase down what you want in life. And then from there, run with it. But if you're here, this is what we're going to do, which then allows you to do the rubbing of the ears shepherd, which we should make some shirts as like, have you rubbed your sheep's ears lately or something? Just some weird random thing.
Yeah, I actually love that, because one thing that in early on I was completely guilty of this is not firing quick enough. And a lot of people look at firing or letting go as a negative thing, and in reality, holding on to a person in a position that they don't belong in is actually cruel. It's selfish. on the leader's part, because the leader is either thinking one of two things. If I let him go, that means more work for me. Selfish. If I have to have this conversation, it's going to be uncomfortable for me and I'm going to feel bad.
Yep.
Selfish. If you have somebody who's not in the position they need to be in, you are doing them a massive disservice, because what would they be doing if they were in a position that they were good at, like, or made for? And everyone has a different personality, right? That's why some people flourish in positions where other people don't, because we're all wired differently, and that's okay. We're different. And if you, as a leader, are unwilling to have those hard conversations because of how it makes you feel, shame on you. Yeah, it's good to have that kind of weeding out and pruning. There's a book right now I'm reading called Necessary Endings, and man, it's I highly recommend it. Dr. Henry Cloud, very good book. But as a leader, your responsibility to be a good leader is to know when to assist moving somebody into a healthier place. That doesn't mean your place is unhealthy, and it doesn't mean they're unhealthy. It means that place, the seat on the bus, is not supposed to be filled by them. No. That's okay.
That's good, man. That's good. Well, I know that I've taken up maybe a little bit more of your time than we originally planned, but this was good. I love this. The culture aspect, the understanding why you're doing what you're doing, the power of the belief and where you're operating from. And it's like, it's so true. All the tactics in the world, they mean nothing if they're not seated in the truth and the belief of what it is that you're selling, as well as when you truly understand what it is that you're doing by serving the client and the prospect. Actually, all the tactics just start overflowing from that place, because now you know what your end outcome is. And when you know what your outcome is, it's like any question or response. Yep. It's very simple. As simple as, you're the 50th person knock my door. Great. Would you like it to be the last? You know what I mean? It's like, that's just a very normal question. Yep. You know what I mean? So absolutely amazing, dude. Yeah. Go. Yeah.
Well, one thing is, like, you're a musician, I'm a musician. We played together. I was just had this analogy in my head while you're talking about, like, yes, it's the truth. Yes, it's believing and all that. But it's so important to get the basics down, because you know how much easier it is to flow in music and free flow and just have fun when you've rehearsed the basics so much that they just come natural. Mm-hmm. You can't just do that free flow, ease of movement, unless you've put in all the practice required to have that. Sales is the same way. You can have the belief, you can have all that, and that's great, and that's necessary and important. But if you don't have the tactics down, like you said, to a point where it's just free flow, it's real hard to go and jam.
I could not agree with you more. Absolutely amazing place to even kind of button and wrap this up. Hey, listen, if you're anywhere in the state of Texas or Louisiana or Oklahoma, and you need anything of any business related to construction, roofing, restoration on a home, you guys need to hit up Restoration Roofing and hit them up and chat with them. Jonathan, where can people find you or connect with you if they wanted to engage with you? Or maybe somebody actually wants to come and work for a great leader like you and a growing team, because if you guys are going to 100 million soon, that means you're going to need people helping you do that. So where would people go to find you?
Absolutely. Yeah. On the web, restorationroofingusa.com is our website. You can email me at Jonathan, JONATHAN, at restorationroofingusa.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn.
Amazing.
Those are probably going to be the best places.
Heck yeah, I love it. We'll also put all of that in the comments so everyone can clearly see that. Thank you so much for today. Thank you for your time and your wisdom of what you've experienced over the last, 25 years of just serving, selling, building a business, a multi-million-dollar business, and just going from what you've gone through, man. Absolutely amazing. Full Stack Crew, as always, we're super grateful for you guys. Thank you for watching, listening. Again, the best thing that you could ever do for us, and the only thing we ever ask for you to do, is simply just share. If you heard something, you liked something inspired you, and it took you to a place where you're like, yo, this is really helpful, then make sure that you share an episode. Share the YouTube link, like it, all the good things. But again, we're grateful for you, and until next time.